Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Helping our constituents with a rising cost of living is clearly the most pressing challenge facing our country, like most other countries in Western Europe and North America over the next year. It was rightly right at the top of the Queen's speech, because it does need to be right at the top of the government's agenda for the year ahead. Prices are rising right around the world. We know that there are a number of factors that have come together. Some of them have been supply-led, with some crucial supplies still suffering the impact of the pandemic, whilst others are demand-led, pent-up demand that is being released, resulting in excess demand as people are now making purchases that haven't been possible over the past couple of years, as well as the switch in many forms of energy to lower carbon forms of fossil fuels, such as moving away from coal and other dirty fossil fuels to cleaner fuels such as gas. It is all coming together to cause increases in prices that few of us have seen in our adult lifetime. And so a large package of support is clearly necessary, and I welcome the support that the Chancellor has already introduced and has already announced, and particularly the strong focus on helping low-paid workers, to help those most likely to be struggling. The increase in the national living wage last month, the additional money through the universal credit taper, helping well over 1 million families by over £1,000. And of course, from July, the increase in the national insurance threshold, contribution threshold, that will add another £330 into people's pay packets, will mean that together the lowest paid workers are significantly better off. And of course, this is part of a £22 billion package. Now, £22 billion, it's an enormous number, but I think it's difficult to grasp quite how big a number it is. It is more than the budget for example, for police and for border force combined. These are not insignificant figures. And of course, that's also on top of the sums that were spent to help get people through the pandemic, paying the wages of 12 million workers, either through furlough or through self-employment income support scheme. But many of our constituents are still struggling, and as prices continue to rise over the coming months, even more will struggle. And so more will need to be done. The government needs to be constantly looking at what can be done to be providing effective and sustainable support. I welcome the special cabinet meeting last Thursday and hope that this will be part of a long series of reviews to look at the measures that might be introduced. And I would urge the Treasury and other ministers to look at how we can narrow that gap between when CPI and earning growth figures are calculated for uprating both pensions and benefits so far ahead of when those increases come in. In normal times, the difference between, say, September CPI figures and April might amount to half of 1%. It might amount to 50, 60p a week on a pension. But at a time when there's very sharp increases in inflation, it is obviously £4, £5, £6, £7 a week. On windfall tax, I would normally oppose retrospective taxation. I do think that the circumstances, what we've seen with energy markets, does mean that this can be justified, but we do need to be confident, as my honourable friend for Sevenoaks said, that the benefits of such a tax do outweigh the costs, that we have to understand what those costs are. And the benefits perhaps are not quite as high as people imagine. It certainly wouldn't pay for the package that the Right Honourable Member, the former Leader of the Opposition, set out. It would probably be about 14, 15 billion pounds spare. It would be about £5 per month per household instead of the large amounts the government has